Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My amendment make a number of changes to H.R. 216 as introduced. I removed the requirement for a study of the organization of VA. I felt that this was unnecessary given the studies that we require the VA to undertake in the Choice Act. In addition, I felt it was unnecessary given that VA own attempts to move forward reorganizing the second largest agency in the federal government. Finally, at the suggestion of Mr. Lamborn, I have added specific language to ensure that the future years veterans programs and the Quadrennial Veterans Review are made available to veterans and the public. I yield back the balance of my time.
Thank the ranking member for her amendment in the nature of a substitute, and it has my full support. Is there any more discussion on the amendment in the nature of a substitute?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Lamborn.
I offer an amendment to the amendment.
The clerk shall report.
Amendment to the amendment in the nature of a substitute to H.R. 216, offered by Mr. Lamborn of Colorado.
I ask unanimous consent that further reading of the amendment be dispensed with. Hearing no objections, so ordered. I recognize Mr. Lamborn in support of his amendment to the amendment in the nature of a substitute.
Well, Mr. Chairman, this is intended to take the underlying bill and the good things in it and maybe add one more improvement to make it even better. What I've seen with the Department of Defense when they do their quadrennial review is sometimes there isn't enough independence in that review process, and it ends up becoming kind of a rubber stamp. And so what we've done in Congress is to have an independent commission step in and do their review of the quadrennial review process. And in 2014, this was the National Defense Panel, which include members like former Secretary of Defense Bill Perry, former Senator Jim Talent, and others. And so rather than the quadrennial review process just becoming a captive of the bureaucracy or the administration then in power, it really has some added value. And so with what we're doing here with the VA process, what this amendment would do is set up that independent panel to make sure that it stays independent and is not a captive of the VA. So I think based on the experience where we've made improvements over on the DoD side, that this would be a good improvement to make at the very beginning on the VA side. So with that, I offer the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Lamborn. Any more discussion on the amendment to the amendment? Hearing none, and since there were no amendments timely filed, the question now occurs on the amendment to the amendment in the nature of a substitute to H.R. 216. All those in favor will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The amendment to the amendment in the nature of a substitute is agreed to. Is there any more discussion on the bill as amended? Hearing none, the question is on the amendment in the nature of a substitute as amended. All those in favor will say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The amendment to in the nature of a substitute as amended is agreed to, and the question now occurs on passage of H.R. 216 as amended. All those in favor will say aye. 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 All opposed, no. The ayes have it. I now recognize Ranking Member Brown for a motion.